All right, good morning, uh, systems engineering students. All right, so I've got the PowerPoint here. I'll show you in a second for the second part of sequence diagrams. So let's just jump in there. Actually, no, I think, yeah, we're actually jumping into this for the first time. My apologies. Okay, so it's a sequence diagram is a behavior diagram that shows sequence of events over time. It's good for showing interactions of parts or references over time. Over time is expressed there twice because it's important. So it completely and unambiguously specifies system behavior. So the graphical depiction of the order of message exchange between elements. You can see the example here on the screen. It's appropriate during any phase of system life cycle. So during ConOps or use case development to show intended functions, and then during architectural design to show subsystem interaction, and then during development and test case specification. So you can use a sequence diagram to convey the meaning in any of those phases. It contains and conveys three essential pieces of information. So the orders of behavior that occur, which structure calls for the behavior, and which structure performs each behavior. So I got a little list of the different symbols and the language of a sequence diagram. So lifelines, you see an example here, represent structural properties of a block. The head of the lifeline is a rectangle with the name and type of the property. Lifelines must be typed by a model element, so may represent a part property of a block in the system. So you see the example there. Part property name and type. So they may represent a block that does not yet have part properties. So it could just be, depending on the phase, you may not have properties developed yet. And it may represent an actor or a block typed as an actor. See, the operator block there is an actor block. Easiest way to connect a block or other elements to a lifeline is to drag the element to the lifeline head from the containment tree. The body of the lifeline is dashed. There's a dashed line dropping down from the head. Time advances from top to bottom. Distances between messages doesn't indicate amount of time, only the order, and shows the relevant portion of the lifeline. So if you were laying out a sequence diagram, the distance between the blocks doesn't represent the amount of time. All right, so we've got some more symbols here. So we've got communication between lifelines. All messages must attach to at least one lifeline. The line begins at the message sender's lifeline. Arrow points to messages received to message receiver's lifeline. let me go over that again. I jumbled over that. So you can see the examples in the snippet of the diagram right here. So, all right, it's just some rules you got to consider with the communications between lifelines. All messages must attach to at least one lifeline. The line begins at the messages sender's lifeline, and arrow points to message receiver's lifeline. There are several types of messages. So a synchronous call. The message sender stops and waits for the receiver to complete the call action and reply before continuing. And then there is a reply. The original message recipient completes the call action and the original sender replies. So at that point, even though it's a synchronous call, the reply back is asynchronous, meaning it's not, once the reply is sent, it's not expecting an acknowledgement of that I mean, just imagine that would be like a perpetual loop if that was the case. And then an asynchronous call, the message sender calls an action but does not wait for a reply, but proceeds about its own actions. And then create messages. Create message is where you create a new lifeline, and delete message, you destroy an existing lifeline. Excuse me, I had to step away for a second. All right, this is important to note here, synchronous versus asynchronous. So a synchronous call, the message sender stops and waits for the receiver to complete the call action and reply before continuing. So let's just follow the flow here. A text, friend with instruction, wait for a response. And then proceeds with a happy dance. So ask your mom if you can go. So checks with mom and sends a reply, yes I can. So the reply, the original message recipient completes the call action and replies to the original sender. So an asynchronous call, you text friend with instructions, proceed out the door. So there's sending it, with the assumption that all they need is the time. So there's really no reason to expect a reply. All right, so what is a message anyway? Message is any kind of communication between two lifelines in a sequence diagram with an expectation of useful behavior. So messages specify the kind of communication the sender and the receiver. Messages are usually classified as a call or a signal. So a call invokes an operation by the receiver. So you got synchronous messages are always calls. Asynchronous messages are sometimes calls. I want you to kind of think about that. Then a signal transmits an explicit list of parameters to the receiver. Asynchronous messages are sometimes signals. All right, we got symbology of messages here. So we've got all our different arrows and blocks, various other symbols. So a synchronous call is a solid line with a solid arrow. You can see that right there in the center. A reply is a dashed line with an open arrow. And then an asynchronous call or a signal is a solid line with an open arrow. So subtle difference, but I want you to notice that there. So that would be the message sort in a specification menu of message. So duration of the call action does not indicate time. So we mentioned that earlier, so just keep that in mind. And then time flows downward for the sequence diagram. All right. Let's look up. Oh, misplaced my book here. Let me find it. There it is. All right. So when you have multiplicity in a sequence diagram, so specify which instance you are referencing. So let's look at, get out your book, 251. Figure 10.3. It shows lifelines and interactions. So you see an operator and a security system. This is a sequence diagram for camera control. All right, so the execution of this, so the the activation boxes are stacked left to right. So look at page 256 in your book. All right, pretty good diagram. It shows the activity boxes in 10.5. So you got figure 10.5 on page 254. Excuse me. All right, so in that one you see where you got the actor, and then you've got the system blocks, surveillance system. In this case, our security guard's an advanced operator, and you can see the flow. All right, so in the top box, you see an asynchronous communication because you're just selecting a camera, but then you see get current status, so then you see it break into the sequence break into a call or a synchronous communication where a response is expected. And then you see it work its way down, down, down. So what I would do in your study of this, make a clear note of the symbols and follow the flow and make sure this works in your brain logically from top to bottom. Figure 10.5. Let's take a look at figure 10.7. Another example, and it gets a little more intricate with the feedback and applies. Let's see, the difference here is it's got activations on this one. Alright, so time representation, so there's time, observation, and time constraint. And then a duration, there's duration, observation, and duration constraint. So if you look at page 259, figure 10.10, you'll see the representation of time in the sequence diagram, including a formula to increase and count the time. So we got some with complex scenarios. You got the combined fragments. You've got a sec, a par, an alt else, and opt a loop. So let's check out page 262 in the book. Figure 10.12. You can see examples of how the opt and the loop and even the loop par was used in order to communicate this handling the alert. Alright, state invariant, so the required state or the condition. On page 265, diagram 10.14, you can see an example of state variance drawn out. Alright, so for homework, diagram states of a doorbell system. Require the doorbell to be not ringing for it to be powered off. Add a switch to turn the inside ringer on and off, and diagram your doorbell sequencing. So submit screenshots of your states and sequences, screenshot of your final containment tree and your model. All right, very good.